My name is Robert and I've been my wife's carer. My wife's name is Eileen. I've been her carer for the last almost 20 years. Initially she had Parkinson's, and after 15 years she developed dementia, and that was the most intense part of the caring exercise, if you like, that I had to go through. And that element lasted for 5 years before eventually the decision I had to make was to look for residential care for her, and that's where we are now. I'd have to say that when Eileen developed dementia, or when a diagnosis was confirmed, that that was quite scary for me, but I quickly saw the manifestation of that when her condition began to deteriorate, and reasonably quickly over a period of months. And I found caring for her very challenging. In fact, I would say I was very poorly prepared for it, if truth be known. And I was very, I suppose I'm a very private person, and I was very slow to admit, even to myself, that this was happening around me. I certainly shielded my family from it. I didn't allow other people to get into my space, if you like. And I tried to do everything myself. I thought I was doing very well, and I suppose to a point I was. But with the passage of time, the demands of Eileen's care became greater, and I found I was really stressed out quite a bit. And I really didn't know how to, I suppose in a way, how to handle this or how to care for myself. It was only until I had a meeting with Eileen's consultant, and she called me aside and said, "Look, I don't think you're a well man. You're beginning to lose weight. I can see it in your face, and you're obviously under stress. And I really think you should be planning ahead. You should have a plan B." I didn't even have a plan A, but she said, "Have a plan B." I said, "What's the plan?" She said, "The plan B would be that you would prepare to move your wife to residential care, because that assuredly is what she needs. She needs residential care. You cannot handle this in the long term." And believe me, she said, I'm speaking from experience. So that was a shock to me and to my system, as I was not prepared under any circumstances to think in those terms at that time. I mean, residential care was for other people. It certainly wasn't for my wife, because I could handle the situation as I thought. But in reality, I wasn't doing a good job. But anyway, I went to look at nursing homes following the discussion I had with the consultant. I visited a number. Didn't like anything I saw, because I had it in my head that I didn't really want a nursing home, but so I knocked all of them. They were not a place where I would like to see Eileen residing. That was the impression I had. But as time went on, I suppose, and my own situation became more stressful, I began to realize that perhaps a nursing home of some type would be the result, or would be the right thing to do. So I looked initially at the state scheme that's available to people. It's called Fair Deal, and because of financial circumstances and what have you, I was informed that I would not qualify for that scheme, that I would have to find a private nursing home. And obviously that narrowed the search down quite a bit. And I did then eventually come across such a place, went and had a meeting, and they came from the nursing home, they came to the house to interview Eileen, I suppose to assess her and characterize her needs in a nursing home setting. And they did in fact inform me soon after that they would be willing to accept her, which were the words I was hoping I would never hear. It was the beginning of the end as far as I was concerned. But anyway, that's the way it was. They said, yes, we'll accept her, but we can't accept her until we have a vacancy, and we don't have any vacancies now, and it could take several months. In fact, in the end, it took I think about 4 months from the time of the first interview with these people, I had been to see the nursing home in the meantime, and I had taken my daughters. And, you know, I'll have to admit that it wasn't such a bad place after all. And my daughters, interestingly, began to warm to the idea. They liked the idea, and I could see they were rallying around me and supporting me and saying, look, it's not the ideal thing, it's not home, Dad, but you have to do it because you are not doing well yourself. So we went from there, and eventually, about 4 months, as I said, into the exercise of searching for the nursing home, I got the call to say, we have a room, and can you have your wife in by the weekend? And that's where it all started. For me, going from being a full-time carer 24/7 to seeing Eileen going into a nursing home where I had absolutely no input at all, or so it appeared, was quite a shock for me, a shock for my system. I found I was very wrapped up in the whole thing. It had taken over my life in a sense, and it was my only thing. The only thing I could do when I got up in the morning, or even during the night, was I was Eileen's carer. I never started out being a carer, but I became one, and in my own mind, I'd become a good carer, and in a strange, roundabout way, I suppose I was getting a certain satisfaction out of it because I felt I was doing a good job. But suddenly, she was no longer under my roof, under my control. These people in the nursing home had taken over, and I felt very much at a loose end. I was totally lost. For the first few weeks and months, I didn't really know what to do with myself. I was visiting the nursing home quite a lot. I was, I suppose I was arguing even with the people in the nursing home. I just was telling them how to do their job, which was something I felt I had to do. I was pointing things out to them about her clothes and about her room and about the food and one thing and the other. And they really were getting their backs up. I could see that, but I didn't back off. It was only when my daughter, who had visited, she lives in the UK, she'd been over on a visit, and she came to visit her mum with me. And she called me aside afterwards and said, Dad, look, if you don't mind me saying, you're getting this all wrong. You're in their face. You're not letting them get on with their job. They are professional people. They're running a nursing home. They have their way of doing it. Your way was fine when you were at home, but now you have to let go and let them get on with it. And driving home that day in the car, I thought about the words of my daughter. And, you know, I had to admit, she had a point. I should really back off. I wasn't helping the situation by interfering, because that's what I was doing, telling these people how to do their job. They were the professionals. So I backed off, and from being somebody who was trying to continue to be hands-on, I became an advocate. I became Eileen's advocate. And if something serious or big came up, or something I needed to draw their attention to, then I would do so. And I endeavoured to form a good relationship with the staff in the nursing home. I got to know virtually everybody, from the clinical director to the nursing director and everybody down to the caring assistants on the floor. And I made an effort to get to know them personally and to be able to address them by their first name. So I could go in and say, good morning X or good morning Y. And they seemed to relate to that. They became quite friendly with me. And my wife is now, 3.5 years in the nursing home, and I have managed to retain that excellent relationship to this day, which is working for me, working for Eileen, and working for the people, the staff in the nursing home.